There are four main subjects that I'd like to cover in this video. The first one is to identify the primary characteristics of blue leaders that allow them to create agile organizations. The second one is to discuss agility itself, to look at agility, what are its key components, and how you develop it. The third one is I'd like to provide examples of how some blue leaders develop agility in their organization and how they use that agility to obtain outstanding results. And then the last part is I'd like to propose a process that can be used to develop agility within an organization. Okay, so now what I want to discuss is the primary characteristics of a blue leader that allows them to develop agile organizations. One of the characteristics of blue leaders is they're continuously learning. They're continuously looking for new and better ways of doing things, and they're continuously asking themselves how they can make themselves better. It is really surprising when you come to a training program where we have leaders that might be 55 years old, 60 years old, they're leading 3,000, 10,000 people, and you're talking about recognition, improvement, feedback, or confronting, skills that they've been using their whole lives. And these are very high-level leaders and very successful leaders, and you're talking about some basic leadership skill. And most of these leaders are very receptive to the skill. They're looking at the skill, they're developing the skill, and they're always looking for little things that can make them better, rather than saying, oh, I'm too good for that. It's a primary characteristic. I have one leader that I have in mind where he's always talking about himself, his development, what he's reading, what he can learn. You have to learn. And if he has that attitude of, I need to continuously develop myself, when he's talking to his direct reports, and he says, talking to his direct report, he's saying, hey, what are you learning? What are you doing? How are you developing? And automatically he's taking that attitude for his self-development, for his growth, and he's putting that onto other people. How should you grow as an individual, as a leader? But then we go to the organization. If he's expecting people to grow, he's also expecting his organization to grow, to easily adapt to change, to continue learning. So this primary skill, or this primary mindset of, I need to continuously develop myself to become better, is also used to, I need to continuously develop my people, to I need to continuously develop my organization. So when you're interacting with this leader, it's absolutely normal that they're talking about continuous change, and they're bringing that mindset into the organization. So what I'd like to do now is talk about what an agile organization looks like and some of the advantages of an agile organization. So I'd like to describe a situation with one of these mega multinational organizations that I was working with. So in this particular company, I've already worked with several factories. I worked with several sales and marketing affiliates. I worked with all of the research and development. I worked with some supply chain, other elements at headquarters. So I've worked with a lot of elements of the organization. I knew the organization extremely well. Then one day, I get a telephone call from an ops director, somebody that I've worked with in 2 other change projects or in 2 other factories, who he moved to a new factory. He got the factory, the highest performing factory in the organization. So he calls me up and he says, Jacques, I'd like to work on another empowerment project with you. And he said, what I'd like to do, and my need in this particular organization, is I need to improve the leadership of the organization, particularly in the lower levels of leadership. And he says to me, but you know, Jacques, since we are such a high-performing organization and our results are so good, you have to understand that even though we will empower the organization, develop leadership, don't expect to have significant improvement in results at the end of this program. This is really a project that's based on, let us develop the leadership effectiveness of the organization. So we begin the project. The first step after that is we have a directing change program where we develop the skills that they need in leadership, the skills that they need to lead an organization through change. And we talk about some systems and competencies that they need to put in the organization in order to facilitate the change. And it's a 4-day program. On the 3rd day of the program, I'm walking to dinner, and at that program, they invited an HR director from another affiliate that wanted to work with me afterwards. So he came to look at the program. And so he's a participant of the program, and he's involved with the program like everybody else to get the experience. And we're walking to dinner on that 3rd evening, and he looks at me and goes, Jacques, I don't understand. He says, we have always been looking at this factory. This is the high-performance factory. It is outperforming us by, it's significant. He said, we always believed that these people, the management team, would be like supermen, superwomen, really intelligent, really powerful people, special, something really special. He says, I've been working with them for 3 days. They look just like my management team. They're not more powerful. They're not any smarter. I don't see anything special about them. They look just like my management team. I do not understand how they can be functioning so well. I don't see the difference. So on the fourth day, when we come to the end of the program, we start discussing the feedback of the program and how we can use that program to develop that culture of excellence that's going to set an example in everything that we do. And when we're discussing that, I mentioned what the ops director said to me, which was, okay, so we're going to develop this level of excellence, but we should not be getting significant improvements in performance. And that immediately got a reaction from the leaders. And they disagreed. They said, absolutely not. These leadership skills are good. What we're learning here is very important. We're going to apply this and performance is going to go up. And they were adamant on there is no way that performance can stay at the same level if we apply this, even if we're excellent. So now what I like to do is I like to give you some examples of how they were able to implement these leadership skills, change that culture of the organization, set an example of everything that they've done, but with that agility, get some really outstanding results. So when we're implementing change, we have the programs that we're talking about. Another thing is we need to develop systems of change or systems of excellence, systems of improvement. And so one of the systems we have is called Sandbags. It's basically removing the inhibitors or the chronic problems in the organization that are holding the organization back. It's a beautiful section for another video. It takes me about 4 hours to do that, so I will move on. So we introduce them the sandbag concept. So there's a whole section of the organization that is saying, well, we want to implement this tool. We want to remove the barriers and the chronic problems in our organization. And so they go to the organization and they say, we're going to remove the problems and we're going to measure that by our downtime, the amount of time in which our machines are not running or the department is not running. And so they motivate and empower all the employees to start identifying the small problems, the barriers, what we call sandbags, and the chronic problems that they have, and then we're going to remove them. So they create a list of all their chronic problems. So on the list, they have things, they would put up a list of a problem that they're having, and they would put the time on it. This has been here for 18 years. This has been here problem for 12 years. They've actually been getting used to all these problems. And then we have the little problems, the sandbags. So they're identifying these. Now, when they went to implement that, and the leaders said, we're going to implement the system, and they got the employees involved, when I would come back to the organization, they'd say, Jacques, come look. And they would bring me to the factory, and they'd bring me to the different production lines. And they would show me their charts where they would have the sandbags that they removed, their big table where they have the chronic problems that they were removing. Months later, I'm in another affiliate working on empowering their organization. And when we're talking about sandbags and chronic problems, I invited that manager from this affiliate to come and describe to us what he did. And they went through a whole description about the process that they set up in order to remove these barriers and problems. And in it, he said, our objective was to have 0 minutes downtime. And at the end of the presentation, I asked him, I said, well, how are you doing on the results that you're getting? And he said to me, last month, we had less than 10 minutes downtime for the whole department for the whole month, which is dramatic results. So at the end of the program, I take some of the directors and I ask them, what is it that makes you go so well? What is it that makes a difference in your organization? And they said, we went through that program and we never dropped it. We kept that. We kept the mindset of change. We kept the skills of change. We kept the attitudes of change. So it was easier for us to implement new things. So when the organization would come and they say, here's a new tool, we would take the tool and implement it quickly. And from that, we have higher level results than everybody else. It was about this mindset that we have in the organization.